What's up, Thumpers? Welcome back to another episode of Hyper Heroes here on Hyper Rabbit Power Go. It is a very special occasion. Unfortunately, though, Augustine is not here.
Yeah, he's in Vegas.
He's in Vegas partying.
He's in Las Vegas.
I know,
Straight
man.
up, that's his reason for not
That's
being
his reason.
here is Las Vegas.
He's partying with some cooler
so hit
people,
him up
I
on
guess.
Twitter. Be like, hey, man, hope you're having a good time. What the hell? No,
What
just
the
kidding.
hell, man?
Don't do that.
But we hit a huge milestone, something that we've been striving for
yeah, man.
for a long time.
Hey, Adam, congrats, dude.
Congrats, man.
Congrats.
We
Hey, Zach, congrats, man.
We finally crossed 100,000 subscribers. So thank you to everyone who has subscribed here to Hyper Rabbit Power Go,
Whoa.
followed everything that we've been doing, trailer reactions, reviews, all the RPGs that we do every single week here, and of course this little show that we get to do every single week. It's
Are we
a whole
getting
lot
a
of
plaque from YouTube? Are we getting a plaque?
We will. I'm literally just waiting for the prompt to pop up where it says "Claim your prize."
Whoa,
So
cool.
I'm pretty excited. Apparently that takes around like 4 to 12 weeks sometimes.
Oh, that's fine.
I'm hoping it's 4 and not 12, but we'll definitely do an unboxing of it once it gets here.
1 to 3 months is kind of
Yeah,
crazy.
I know.
It's
I'm like,
it's
really?
anywhere from 1 to 3 months.
I know. Well, it's crazy. I know. Everyone's gonna fuck these guys. No, but we're super excited, and you know, this has been something that we've always been working towards, and you know, we've jumped around and all that sort of stuff. So it's been great to be able to be here for 2 years now, build a foundation, build a community,
Be a part of Hyper.
Exactly, and you guys seem to really enjoy everything that we're doing. So we're super excited to continue making content. If you're listening on the podcast, thank you so much for listening. Make sure you guys are listening. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, SoundCloud. Make sure you guys rate and review or leave a comment about the podcast, because the more ratings and reviews that we get, the higher the podcasts go up the charts, which means more people will discover our show. And hopefully if you're discovering it on a podcast for the first time, jump over to YouTube. Jump over to youtube.com/hyperrpg. Check us out. We've got a whole lot of different content. Zach and I were just talking about today about toying with the idea of doing like tech reviews and stuff. So I think we're gonna be experimenting a lot this year. Yeah.
Oh, that'd be good.
I know.
You guys should do that.
It'd be a lot of fun.
That'd be dope.
And the reason why is our friends at Blackmagic sent us a brand new camera, the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K, which is what you're seeing this on tonight or this week. And this is a fun camera. This is a nice brand new 4K camera. And I'm very excited about testing this out and seeing what we can do with it and all that sort of stuff. We're also exporting this video in a more mobile-friendly format because we have so many of you who watch our show on your mobile devices. And, you know, those screens, they have a different aspect ratio than a traditional computer screen. So we're really trying to play around with the format and make it adaptable for all devices, not just for the desktop. So let us know if you even notice, because I think most people won't, but some people might. These guys look a little closer than usual. They don't look like they're so far away.
What's up?
Emily made the joke of us maybe filming an episode in 3D. Nobody would be able to watch it in 3D, but it'd be a lot of fun just to experiment with.
Oh, hey, YouTube comments, smaller table.
That's right. We're on a brand new set. This is the set that we're going to be hopefully filming stuff on permanently.
Okay.
The reason why we haven't been is because, you know, there's been a lot of shows launching here at Hyper. So this upstairs area has been used for a lot of different stuff and staging.
When it's regularly us three, are you going to be in the middle? I'm going to be on that side. I'll get on this side.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go back to normal eventually.
Yeah.
Relax.
Everyone's going to be mad about
Everybody.
it. Just suck it up. But yeah, so just us two tonight. We're going to have a lot of fun. A lot of stuff to cover.
Okay.
It's been a very, very, very busy week.
Okay.
And, you know, a lot of times when we talk about this stuff, we always mention that, like, you know, it's kind of a dry week, not really a whole lot of stuff happening.
Yeah.
But this week has been a very active week. The first thing that we're going to talk about, there's a whole lot to discuss and dissect about the brand new Suicide Squad movie that's coming out in 2021. James Gunn obviously writing and directing. The first bit of info that was very surprising, to me at least.
Yeah.
Will Smith not returning as Deadshot.
Yeah.
With that news, I thought, cool, Deadshot's just not going to be in the movie. And I think we did talk about it last week a little bit. So, and that was kind of a no-brainer in terms of that character not returning, because they did say, new movie, new squad, a soft reboot of sorts. And we talked about how, like, great, the Suicide Squad can be a rotating cast of characters. Yeah. I think it's totally fine if Deadshot and Harley are not in it.
Yeah.
And then the news came that Idris Elba
Yeah.
is currently in talks to replace Will Smith as Floyd Lawton.
Let's talk about. I want to ask you this question
Yeah.
too, because the more and more years that we do this, the more I want to understand this
Sure.
and what it means. When the news comes out, first of all, whose news? Was it Warner Brothers that released this?
This is
news?
from
Is
the
it,
Hollywood Reporter.
Okay, and they have sources, but they won't like straight up confirm. Like it's not
Right.
an official press
There's
release.
no press release, yeah.
So
because we're very early on in the process.
Right, but they do have sources,
Mhm.
right? Like somebody at Warner Brothers is probably putting this out,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then when the news is they're in talks, that means it's pretty much a done deal. Like,
Yeah.
what does that mean?
It usually means that the actor has had a discussion with either the filmmaker
Okay.
or the studio or both.
So it could change.
It could totally change.
Okay.
But usually when they're in talks, it usually means that they have come up with some sort of they basically they've come to the agreement that they want to do the project together.
And then in talks
now,
means like, how much are you going to pay me?
yeah,
like
now
contracts.
it's
like,
the legal stuff, the contracts. and all that sort of
Gotcha.
stuff.
Okay. But
so-
Idris signed on the line, like, yeah, I'm in. And then
I don't know
you
if it's signed, but
Yeah.
at least from what the report says
Okay.
is that him and James Gunn had a conversation.
Yeah.
They came to a mutual understanding of what they wanted to do with the character. I guess Idris was James Gunn's first choice. So is it possible that these talks could fall
Interesting.
apart? Absolutely.
Man, this is just like the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Because it's like, as much as I love Don Cheadle and I
Mhm.
love him, as much as I love Mark Ruffalo and I
Yeah.
love him, there was that bummer
Of the continuity.
of the
Yeah.
the original actors who played those characters like not being able to come back for sequels. Despite when you ignore the stuff of like, well, behind the scenes, apparently they
Sure.
were difficult to work with, and apparently because you can believe that stuff or you cannot,
Right.
like you'll never know,
Yeah.
and that's really not important. What's
Mhm.
important is what ended up happening. Mark Ruffalo got the role of Bruce Banner, Don Cheadle, Rhodey, and it's like, yeah, it's just right back to that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this is if Edward Norton couldn't do it, they weren't not going to put the Hulk in the
Right,
Avengers.
Right.
Right? If Terrence Howard, if they didn't want to like keep working with him, they were not going to move away from the character of James Rhodes to like another Iron Man supporting character for like a role for Don Cheadle to play or whatever, just to maintain continuity.
Hey, it's me. I'm here.
Yeah, let's get over
get
it.
over it.
Let's move on. Yeah, this is very interesting because this is this movie is going to draw a lot of comparisons to Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
A lot.
Especially when you're potentially going to
A
have
lot.
Dave Bautista in this movie, too.
Yes, but obviously on paper there's a lot of similarities, even though they're different things that do different things.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
lot of similarities from going from one company to the other to
Yeah.
do something similar. So like I was thinking about this, and I may have talked about it on an episode of a Collider thing that hasn't come out yet. But
Mhm.
here's a little preview: is can you imagine if between Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2, Chris Pratt couldn't come back?
You're right.
Like
You got to recast Star-Lord.
Like I'm not trying to say, Will Smith as Deadshot is Star-Lord, the same iconic level, whatever, but I'm just saying, like, would James Gunn have recast that character? Or would he have been like, okay, we'll wait or we'll whatever?
Yeah.
Like, I think he would have recast the character because even though the Guardians of the Galaxy is also a comic book team that has a bunch of different members.
Mhm.
I mean, in 2, James introduced Mantis.
Yeah.
Nebula was officially on the team. Like, there's characters you can introduce. He was going to tell like Peter Quill's story.
Mm-hmm.
That was what the important thing was. So at first we were like, yeah, you can bring in another DC character, but the fact that everybody's deciding to just continue forward with Floyd Lawton Deadshot, to me, it made me realize like, oh, I'm really excited about this because James
Yeah.
Gunn has a specific Floyd Lawton Deadshot story to tell.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just replace this guy with another a character.
Right.
And I like that about what's happening. As unfortunate as it is, because I really like Will Smith.
Same.
Like across the board.
Him and Margot Robbie, I think,
thought
were my
that
favorite parts.
Him and Margot Robbie were the
Yeah.
best things about that first movie, and I thought that it would be cool to. But you know what else this might be? Speaking of Marvel, it's getting us used to this.
Yeah.
Right? Rhodey was the first actor that got us used to, there's a new actor playing this role, let's move on. So that when
Yeah.
Hulk came around, the lead character of one of their movies
Yeah.
was not Edward Norton, but they're like, hey, you're used to it by now. Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah.
Like, they might be prepping us. This might be Warner Brothers going, actually, James, let's leave Deadshot
Mhm.
and get people used to this so that we can set up Batman and Superman being played by new actors.
And Batman, it's
That-
happening.
That might
Batman,
be
it's
what's
happening.
that might be
Yeah.
part of it. I don't know. What do you make of this?
Yeah, I mean, because that's an interesting point, and I started looking sort of at there's an image that came out from Comic-Con, I think like 3 years ago when they were all there,
Oh,
the
I
Suicide
know.
Squad and BVS.
You sent it to us, dude. You were
Yeah.
like, look how many people aren't here anymore.
Everyone's gone. Yeah,
I know.
And I think I would say the only difference between this and like Guardians, for example, is because James Gunn came in and was at the beginning of Guardians, and he's there to tell the story of part 1 and
Different.
part 2.
Different.
It's a little different, when you're coming into a movie that Warner Brothers is sort of pitching you, or you're pitching to them, a sort of a soft reboot. I think there's a little bit more flexibility to sort of change the actors out. And when there's a scheduling conflict, could they have waited? Absolutely. Could it be a scheduling conflict plus a combination of like maybe Will Smith saying, "I think I'm good."
Yeah, man.
I mean, I think
he's
potentially
known
could
for
be it
doing
too.
that.
Yeah.
He's known for like rarely doing sequels, rarely doing this kind of film.
I mean, Men in Black, I think, is the only franchise that he's done all of them.
Yeah, and I think it was like a while before he wanted to do 3.
Yeah.
And
Independence Day, he died, his character.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, yeah, this might be Will being like, I'm gonna pass, gentlemen. Like maybe no matter how much we're excited about this thing, maybe his experience with the first film was like, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Like that might be the case.
Yeah, and and for me personally, like I think we both we have a huge respect and love for Idris Elba.
Oh, big time.
So
again,
I don't doubt
this is Don Cheadle because it's like I thought Terrence Howard was great. This is not an upgrade or a downgrade. It's like a side grade.
Exactly.
It's like fuck, he's great.
It's like you got the
I loved Edward
best
Norton
case scenario.
as Banner. Yeah, but I'm like you get Ruffalo and I'm like God damn it, he's great.
Yeah.
Side grade.
I know. I agree. And so there was a lot of questions, whether or not other characters were going to come back. So apparently, according to this report, Margot Robbie will come back as Harley Quinn. Oh, Kaiju.
Oh, Kaiju. Hi.
She will come back as Harley Quinn, but she won't actually enter production until after her movie wraps.
Got
so
it.
once Birds of Prey
that makes
wraps,
sense.
then she'll transition over to Suicide Squad. So I again, going back to last week's conversation, the talk was that we're going to have new members, not the old ones. But I do like the fact that we're going to use characters like Deadshot and Harley to potentially sort of be the bridging gap between the old and the new.
You know what needs to be the gap? It needs
Amanda
to be
Waller.
Amanda Waller.
Which
She's
they
the
have
fury
not,
of
which
the.
they have
I
not
know, man.
said anything about that character,
I
whether or
know.
not she'll be back.
I know, and honestly, I'm like, go for it and get David Harbour's
Yeah,
character to come
totally.
back as well. That weird little like government guy.
Yeah, for sure.
Like that's the continuity.
Yeah.
That's the. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, there's been some conflicting reports whether or not Rick Flagg will be in it.
Mm-hmm.
There was a report that came out that said Joel Kinnaman will not be coming back, and now this Collider report that talked about the roster, the potential roster of all these characters, said it's conflicting. Some people are saying that he will be coming back, but it might be a new actor, or he may not be coming back at all. So, like, Rick Flagg is a big question mark. We don't know.
Interesting.
The other thing that they did say, the article did say, is that instead of this movie taking inspiration from the New 52, which is sort of more of what David Ayer did, this one will go back more towards the 80s original Suicide Squad comics by John Ostrander and Kim Yale. So I think this is a really good opportunity for James Gunn to take Floyd Lawton as a character and really connect us with him personally and emotionally.
Oh, absolutely.
Because like the big thing about him in the first movie was, his connection to his daughter and wanting to be reunited with his family. And I think because of the crazy past that this character has had, and it's probably changed based on what comics you read, but him coming from a family of like parents who did not have the best, at-home life. Him accidentally killing his brother while he was supposed to, kill his dad.
Man,
and
you've done your research.
I think it's like a very interesting history.
Yeah.
So I think like an actor like Idris can bring so much depth to that.
Oh, yeah.
And what James Gunn did with Guardians and Star-Lord, and even the other characters, Gamora and all that sort of stuff.
Drax.
Like there's so much that you can do. And I personally would I don't hate that first Suicide Squad movie. I think it's very entertaining.
Yeah.
I think Will Smith brings a very entertaining element to Deadshot, but I think the movie doesn't really have a lot of depth. And I think now is an opportunity to really like get into the depth of these characters.
I agree. I think that first movie, like, it's not my lowest ranked of the DC Films franchise. Again, I think there's a lot of potential in it. I think when I was done watching it for the first time, I went, okay, part 2.
There's potential.
Just give them more time to do it. Everybody now famously knows David Ayer had like so little time to write and then like actually shoot the thing.
Yeah.
But all of the pieces are in play. The characters I think are solid for the most part. The characters that are underserved and that I'm not a fan of, I think fall prey to like stereotypes and cliches and different things that were like disappointing.
Yeah.
And I also think like the reports of like what comic book run it's going to draw from, I don't think that what it drew from was necessarily like the problem of that film. Again, it's just it's just the time that they had to do it. It's those kinds of production issues. It's that it felt as though there was a reaction to Batman versus Superman that made the producers of Suicide Squad very nervous, and they're like, let's actually maybe let's not go as hard.
Yeah.
Because the last one really bummed everybody out and it didn't do what we expected it to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think like there's still like some of the 80s stuff that I read was in the first Suicide Squad movie.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's some of that New 52, 2011, more recent era of comics as well. So like, then again, the Guardians comics, like they draw from like the Abnett and Lanning run of Guardians, right, Zach? That the new Guardians movies, kind of, but then there's some like older Guardians stuff in there, and then there's just straight up new, Star-Lord likes music because his mom, like that stuff that's like genius, not in the comics at all. So
and I would think like maybe I think this is also an opportunity to sort of play with the tone a little bit too.
Yeah,
because I think James Gunn, while he can make a very entertaining and lighthearted and fun and humorous movie, I think this is also an opportunity, and we're going to talk about Brightburn a little bit later. I think this is an opportunity to maybe even like sort of hit a little bit of that darker territory, but not dark in the sense of just being like depressing and dreary. I think it's more about the emotion of the characters and being a little bit more adult.
What he can do, the thing that I am most excited about is that he can bring heart.
Yeah.
I think the Suicide Squad works best when you read. I just read like a Suicide Squad Aquaman crossover book, which was called Sink Atlantis, and it was great. And they introduced this brand new character I'd never heard of, and he shows up and he's on the Suicide Squad, and I was like, oh man, I love this character. And sure enough, by the end, dude died, and I was like, dang it! But that's the heart. That's what it's supposed to do. Like it's supposed to like just mess you up and go no, as opposed to Slipknot, who you're like, oh, that's cool, that's Adam Beach. Dead.
That was Adam Beach.
Okay. Well, I would have liked to connect with him before. First movie, man, you fall in love with Groot, and then he sacrifices himself. Yeah. It's awesome, dude. It's like so good. So I think that it's and Suicide Squad, even I think more than Guardians. Guardians is even more heroic than the Suicide Squad within their respective universes. Yeah. Some of the edge that the Guardians, they're all criminals, right? But they're not like, it's like Ant-Man. They're not like violent, super, and if they are, it's Drax, and it's like, we forgive him because he's so eccentric. And then we learn his backstory, and we're like, oh, he's a tortured soul. Yeah. Gamora's the deadliest assassin in the universe. Oh, but her dad's Thanos. Okay, I get it. And Rocket and Groot, they just want money. They just want to make credits. They just want to, so, and Peter, like, steals stuff. He doesn't, like, murder people. Right. With Suicide Squad, you can push that more. They are in Blvd. They are bad guys.
They baddies.
But to put heart in that, this is going to be great, dude. Yeah. I'm excited.
Yeah. They also did reveal, and this is a report from Collider. They did say that this is unconfirmed because the script has gone through several rewrites. This squad lineup could change. But this is what they're hearing so far as the lineup. Ratcatcher, which in this movie apparently will be gender swapped. Sure. And Floyd Lawton will play somewhat of like a father figure to this character. King Shark, Polka Dot Man, Peacemaker. And Peacemaker apparently is a role that potentially will be for Dave Bautista. Okay. I mean, you put Dave Bautista in, and I'm all about it.
He's that's going to be great. Yeah, that's going to be great.
Yeah.
That's everybody so far.
That's everybody so far.
Peacemaker is also the character who famously inspired one of the characters in Watchmen, the comedian. Oh no! Oh, so Peacemaker was originally a Charleston comic character, along with the Blue Beetle, and the Question. And I want to say Captain Atom was one, and then I want to say, oh my God, who was the one that inspired Silk Spectre? Who was it? Was it Phantom Lady? Zach, do you know? Do you know the comic book character that inspired Silk Spectre? I forgot her name. Anyway, somebody in the comments will be like, it's this, Hector. Cool, man. Great.
Thanks for Googling it.
Thank you. But Alan Moore wanted to use those characters and was like, I just want to tell the most fucked up story with these guys. And DC was like, actually, we might use them at some point. So can you do? And he's like, all right. So then they created their own. Him and Dave Gibbons created their own sort of set of characters. The comedian was based on Peacemaker. Gotcha. A character who loved peace so much that he was like a crazy assassin. Like he'll straight up kill people. The comedian, there's some similarities, is somebody who like is so tapped into the reality of the world
Yeah.
that everything's a joke.
Yep.
So he's the comedian, and then that's why he's like super brutal, even though
Yep.
he like has like a clown outfit in his, when he's like a teenager,
Yep.
So I think that's really interesting. If it's
Yeah.
not Batista, I don't know how people feel about this. Just get Jeffrey Dean Morgan. I don't know if he'd be down, but that would be the craziest.
Man.
Like,
Look, he plays Bruce Wayne in one scene. I'm like, I'd be down to have Jeffrey Dean Morgan in the DC movies, like officially.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's true. Yeah, he does play Thomas Wayne.
Yeah,
but
I don't think they'll ever do it. I don't know. I think at this point with how they're sort of
they're never gonna
recasting and
do
redoing stuff, I
Flashpoint?
don't think so.
No, they won't. I don't think that there's. I don't think that
there's a place for it right
I don't
now.
think that there is. So like that would be cool, but that would also mean like, all right, if any DC future movie has the Blue Beetle, you have to get King Orm to play him, and that's not gonna. And if there's any ever the question, you got to get Jackie Earle Haley to come back, and so maybe that ship has sailed.
Amazing.
Maybe that ship has sailed.
But I'm super excited about it. I mean, again, it doesn't come out till 2021, so
that's 2 years from now.
A plethora of things
that'll
that
go
can
by
happen.
like that.
I know.
That'll go by like that.
Yeah, and apparently he's going to start shooting it hopefully sometime in the summer. So
okay, so if that let's do the math. If that starts shooting
mm-hmm.
in the summer of this year,
yeah,
and then it'll end by the fall. Like
it
it'll
depends.
be like a 3, 4 month, 5 month.
It could go into the new
schedule.
year.
It could go into the new year, but then it comes out next year, and then there'll be like post production, right?
Yeah.
Then he does the press for it, and it comes out summer of 2021,
August 2021,
August of 2020, right in the middle of the year. That Guardians of the Galaxy release date, and then September. Disney calls. Hey man, let's do Guardians 3. Let's do Guardians 3. Come on back, buddy. It's like, okay,
what do you think his response would
okay,
be?
you had your fun. I don't know. If it's a serious,
tough, right?
I'm joking, but the serious thing I think should for real be Kevin Feige convincing Disney. This is in my head what I think is happening is we talked about this, that the fact that movie wasn't just filming meant that they care about preserving that.
Yeah.
And I feel that they would know, not only with Dave Bautista, saying, I'm not going to do it if it's not James Gunn, not only that sort of attitude, but like, I think a lot of movie-going audiences and a lot of fans of the Guardians know that it's James Gunn who wrote and directed 1 and 2, and then 1 with Nicole Perlman. So like, why wouldn't Disney want to build up the hype? Right, we're going to see the characters again in Avengers Endgame, possibly. Rocket's in it for sure. We don't know if the other characters come back. They're going to probably come back. But at the end of that movie, leave us wanting more for where like they haven't even started filming Guardians Volume 3 yet.
Yeah.
They start filming in 2021, at the end of 2021, 2 years from now, or 3 years from now, into 2022, for it to come out 2024.
24, yeah.
Right? 4 years from now. That's not the craziest gap.
No.
So it's
They've
like
done Marvel movies in literally 14, 18 months.
So like I think that there's if whoever made the call to not make that movie could convince the rest of Disney, like, okay, look, he went and did another huge tentpole the same exact audience for the direct competition, and a couple people asked him questions during the press about his comments, and this is how it was handled.
Yeah.
That studio's taken the flack. The movie came out.
They've dealt with it.
They've dealt with it.
Let's go.
You can save face.
Yeah.
Bring him back so that they can announce from visionary director James Gunn, right? Like
again.
Yeah, man. So
I guess we'll see.
That's my math right now.
It's
like, again, it seems like it's far away, but this is not that long.
Oh, it goes by so quick.
It goes by so quick.
It's already been like 7 years since The Dark Knight Rises almost. That's crazy.
Man.
Right?
Yeah,
2012.
dude.
It's insane.
It's sometimes I think it's been oh my God, 7 years. Yeah, since like John Carter. I feel like that movie just came out.
I know.
Like,
It's crazy. It's
so
insane.
yeah, dude,
It's
it'll go
insane.
by.
We'll see.
It'll happen.
So a certain show is coming to an end after 8 seasons. Arrow officially concluding after season 8. Stephen Amell announced it on Facebook. I watched the video.
Oh, nice.
Here's my thoughts on Arrow.
Okay.
I have not always been a big fan of the show.
Sure.
I think some seasons it's worked better than other seasons. There are episodes throughout that I think work a lot better than arcs in the whole thing. But I love the cast.
Oh yeah.
And I love when they interact with other shows. And I really love Stephen Amell. I know a lot of people give him a lot of shit for the way he plays that character, sort of just like straight-faced. But I love his enthusiasm. I love his dedication to the character.
Dude, they work hard.
They work really hard. I mean,
man.
You've been to the sets, haven't
No,
you?
but
you've interviewed some people from the shows.
Probably.
Yeah.
Mainly,
sure you have.
Mainly just like Echo Kellum, like
Right. Yeah. People that are within our circles.
when he's in LA.
Yeah.
But those production schedules are brutal,
Yeah.
man.
I mean, he's basically has been living in Vancouver for
Yeah.
7-8 years.
Yeah.
So,
but I think it's fine because I think he's Canadian. Isn't Stephen Amell a Canadian
I think
American
so.
actor?
I
Like
think
I
he
think he's
is.
got.
But something that he did talk about in
he's
the
from
Facebook video that I thought was very true is, he's been living in Canada for 7 years. He's been making this show, and he wants to explore other opportunities. He's been in a couple movies. Most notably, he played Casey Jones in Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
So I think now he's mentioned that he wants to do other things and all that sort of stuff. The thing that I appreciate the way that they're handling this is that from the video he made it sound like this is something that's been on his mind for a year or two.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently at the end of his contract, he kind of wanted his character to leave the show, but he was fine with the show continuing on without him with all the other characters. And he said he had a conversation with Greg Berlanti and the producers, and they said, you know what? To better service the show and to not just sort of let it run until it's dried out.
The show will be over.
Let's end the show.
Right,
Let's send the character Green Arrow and his supporting characters off in a nice, respectful way. So I think this is a really nice way to do it.
I agree, especially because it's not the only show.
Yeah.
And other characters that were introduced in Arrow literally landed as like principal characters in Legends of Tomorrow.
And their own show.
So if there are actors who, in their own show, Flash. So if there are actors that just started, they were only on Arrow for a little bit. I feel like even though probably the most recent addition was like somebody like Echo Kellum.
Yeah.
For the most part, and even he was like leaving the show. Like he announced that he's also going to be leaving the show. So, if there are actors that are like, oh man, I want to keep going though. Like this is my
totally
job.
Possible.
Dude, they just hop over to Legends, or they go and guest star on, and then they're on Team Flash.
Exactly.
Or I got stuck in Supergirl's universe. Okay, now you're on the show Supergirl.
Exactly.
Like there's 3 other shows that are happening.
Yeah.
And
Batwoman's coming.
Batwoman, yeah. So Batwoman could effectively also like take the place of Arrow with like what it does for the other Arrowverse shows. So, yeah, man, this makes me excited for 2 reasons. Number 1, 10 episodes.
Yes,
that's going to be a tight 10.
Shortened.
That's going to be.
We've been asking for this forever. Please do it for more.
I don't know when. I don't think it'll ever happen. But if all of a sudden they announced that every other show was also 10 episodes, I'd be like, these are going to be some of the 4 best seasons of television. Like
we would do live reactions to those.
Just story-wise, it'd be like, oh my god, like to be able to get it done. But TV production is different, and even at the Netflix level, it's like even the ones that are way shorter than a 22 episode season, 13 episodes, we've always talked about the middle run of episodes is like, ugh, it's not great. For the most part, just do 10. Just do
Stranger
8.
Things handles the 8 to 10 thing really well.
Just do 8, like Defenders. Like, although Punisher was cool for 13, the first season, I haven't seen the second one yet. Second reason I'm excited. The show finally ending, I'm like, I want to start the Arrowverse again from the beginning and actually watch every episode and watch the whole thing. And I think that's going to be my project. Here's what I'm doing right now. Doing all the MCU movies. This summer, after Endgame comes out, I'm doing the MCU shows because I also haven't seen every episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And that's going to be like, also Coulson, Clark Gregg also announced like it'll probably end after 7. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to spend the back half of this year literally doing every MCU show. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Agent Carter, weird little web series or whatever. The Netflix stuff, again, because there's a bunch of season 2s and 3s that I like missed and haven't caught up yet. Cloak and Dagger, Runaways, whatever else is happening. Catch up on that. There's a lap. There's not super a lot. Like it's doable. Then when I'm done with all that, Arrowverse, baby. Episode 1, season 1, Arrow. I've already seen season 1. Didn't love it, but I'm gonna do it again.
I shake my head because I've done it.
I know.
Have better use of your time.
I know, man.
I've done it. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
We'll see, right?
Let's dive in to the Arrowverse.
Next time, come hang out with us and we'll shoot things with you. We'll put you on stuff.
That's right.
I'd say I could be productive, or I could watch every episode of the Arrowverse. I think I got my answer.
I do like this quote though from the CW president Mark Pedowitz. He says things will age, and we want to get the next generation of shows to keep the CW DC universe going for as long as possible.
For as long as possible, yeah.
And I agree.
Sense.
I mean, like it makes sense. And part of me wishes, I agree with you. Part of me wishes that they would go to like an 8 to 10 episode format. That way they could rotate shows even throughout a regular 23 episode season. You could rotate through like 3 shows almost. You could do like
I see what you mean.
An 8 episode run of The Flash, Supergirl, Legends, Batwoman, Black Lightning.
But that would still mean the DC show is only ever on a Monday night.
Yeah.
And they don't have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Exactly. But it's like, damn, imagine how much stuff you could populate.
Oh, for sure.
Which like, it's already crazy because Greg Berlanti, I think, produces like 16 shows.
What?
That's nuts.
That is.
He's doing some, and he's obviously doing some stuff on DC Universe.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, I'm just glad that they've decided, because for me, I loved Smallville.
Yeah.
And honestly, we could thank Smallville for a lot of this.
Yeah, for sure.
Because originally the plan was to have that Green Arrow,
Justin Hartley
have his own Green Arrow show, and he didn't want to do it. He thought it would sort of like put a bad taste in people's mouth. You know, he kind of owed his success to the character and his acting career to Smallville, so he kind of felt like it was kind of like a betrayal to that show to be like, I'm gonna go do my own thing. So then they ended up making this reboot. But I do like the fact that even though, you know, like I loved a lot of Smallville, but I felt like it sort of overstayed its welcome a little bit.
Oh, for sure.
I feel like it could have wrapped up in the 4 to 6 seasons they wanted to do originally.
What's the joke? Like, okay, they should have changed it to Metropolis. Like
Right,
like it's not even about
it's not
those
Smallville.
4 years of
Exactly.
for sure.
So I do like the fact that with this show they're saying we had a good run. We had 8 great seasons, or we're going to have 8 great seasons. Let's wrap the character up. You know, and in the Elseworlds crossover, you know, he makes a deal to potentially save the life of like 2 characters. And with Crisis on Infinite Earths coming, does that mean he will potentially sacrifice himself? We don't
That'd
know.
be wild.
But it would be a nice way to sort of...
Tyler Hoechlin was holding Stephen Amell,
Right.
crying for
it
Crisis
could be
instead.
a really nice way to sort of wrap up that character's story if they do end up wanting to kill him. Like, Green Arrow could easily ride off into the sunset and someone else could come in and take over the role. But if they do end up killing the character, then I think, like, this is a nice way to do it. A nice 10-episode solid send-off and make room for Batwoman or whatever else is going to come in later years. But, you know, I think the show had a good run. I think, again, that show did create a lot of opportunities. Obviously, it was given an opportunity, but it created an opportunity for so many things.
Oh, yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
I kind of get a little upset at people on the internet when they're like, "Oh, Arrow sucks. Arrow's this. Arrow's that." I'm like,
You got to give it its
you
props.
may not like the show, but
Yeah.
you have to acknowledge the fact that it created so much opportunity for DC superheroes on television that I don't think we've ever
in
had.
a lot of ways is the more at least prolific iteration of the DC universe in live action right now. It's years between movies. You know, it doesn't have that same sort of momentum.
Yeah.
And whenever it feels like, man, it would be so great to see something in a movie, it'll never have. We're years away from it.
Yeah.
Like they're pulling it off.
The show's like, here's Flash,
Here you
here's
go.
this, here's that. Yeah.
Here's Crisis on Earth X, and you're
Yeah.
like, shit, man,
really
that's
good.
crazy.
Yeah,
like,
the
here's
crossovers have been great.
Here's the Dominators. Here's
Yeah.
you know the Time Masters or whatever. Like all this. Here's Rip Hunter. Here's it's crazy. Dude.
Constantine even had a second life on those shows.
Speaking of King Shark, they got King Shark. They got
Yeah,
Gorilla Grodd.
That's coming up,
It's cool,
right?
dude.
They're going to
It's
be fighting
cool.
an episode soon. Man,
Probably.
it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Let's switch gears a little bit over to Aquaman. So the producer, Peter Safran, did a nice interview with The Hollywood Reporter. He talked a little bit about the Trench spinoff that's coming, and he talked a little bit about the sequel of Aquaman, which is going to be coming. He did confirm that the Trench movie will be happening. It will be released prior to Aquaman 2, but it will take place after the events of the first Aquaman movie.
Okay.
Aquaman, Mera will not be in it.
Okay.
He says that a lot of the inspiration mostly came from the reaction that people had to that Trench sequence. And I mean, famously, like that trailer did really sell that sequence extremely well.
Yes.
And we got to see the one
sequence
shot,
was rad.
that one anthill shot
Yeah.
of them going down underwater and stuff. So I know we've kind of been back and forth on the whole Trench spinoff. I'm not necessarily the craziest about it. And I would have assumed that we would have gotten a proper Aquaman sequel prior to the Trench spin-off movie, especially because it's not dealing with characters connected to the Aquaman movies as far as we know right now, particularly Aquaman and Mera. So I don't really know what that story could be. We spitballed a few things last time of things that we think it could be.
Yeah.
Who knows what it could end up being.
I forgot even what we said, and we got ourselves excited about it. We're like, that could be cool.
Yeah, about potentially
But
I
a
think
prequel?
it was during the fall of Atlantis,
Right.
from the surface world down into the depths of the ocean.
Yeah, but
following
that's
a character who
lo-
like potentially like becomes a monster of the
Yeah,
trench.
but that's a long time ago.
Exactly.
They're telling us
this is like happening after the events of the first movie. So what do you do?
I just hope it's not like two regular, good-looking people, like a horror
Become
movie,
monsters of the trench.
who just again are on a boat, except
Yeah.
that they're not Aquaman and Mera,
Right.
and then it's like, oh, we got attacked by a thing, and then it's a horror film.
We got to get out of there. It's the escape.
I know that this is part of it, but the thing right now is, like we've talked about with the show Krypton, we didn't understand like you guys
context,
have to the context. You guys have to pitch this to us, to comic book fans that are familiar with this idea, because of this idea, as we read it out of the Hollywood Reporter, it seems ill-conceived.
Yeah.
And then we hear time travel, right? Adam Strange, and we're like,
Strange, yeah.
oh, those are the
Brainiac.
stakes.
Oh, shit.
The twist.
Yeah.
Same thing needs to happen here. The frustrating thing for me, it's frustrating because Warner Brothers makes successful films and film franchises all the time. But no matter how great the Aquaman movie was, it's not just a movie.
Right.
It is an adaptation of 75 years of a character in comic books. And my thing is, this feels like movie producers that know how to produce movies and make movies being inspired by producing movies and going, hey, we did this over here successfully, and bringing this over to the Aquaman superhero thing and going, okay, well, we did it with The Conjuring, so we're going to do it with Aquaman. Instead of looking at what Aquaman needs and going, this is what we should do a spin-off of. I remember I was like, it should be about Tula. It should be about Orm's sister, right? King Orm's sister. It should be about Garth, who's like the Aqualad character, or some of those kinds of side fringe characters that are still effectively like Aquaman and Mera Jr. Like you could still have a story like that. So it does not. It feels like it is. Oh yeah, you know how we did Annabelle? We'll just do that with Aquaman instead of do what this character in this world requires. And have a movie be born out of that instead of, we looked successfully at the films that we produced, how much money we made versus how much we paid to get the film made, and how it hit with audiences. Because, again, I don't think that that's the same audience. And I don't think that I didn't hear this idea and go, I can't believe they've never done a comic book about this, you know, like where I was like, what a brilliant, like organic, idea that is so specific to Aquaman. Great. And I want to feel like that, but I didn't feel like that. So this unfortunately to me feels a little bit like, it feels like movie producers being movie producers instead of like being able to at least lie to us and be like, here's why this is perfect for Aquaman. And then delivering that. Yeah.
Well, and he says, we've definitely taken a page from our Conjuring playbook, which is, you've got the mothership, which is Aquaman, but there are so many great stories to tell within that universe of itself, that Atlantean universe.
Yes. I agree. The Trench is not on that list for me. Like, I agree 100%.
I think, like, if you wanted to explore the world of Atlantis, one, you don't have to just explore Atlantis. There's so many other kingdoms that you could potentially explore.
Right.
There's so many other different worlds within the Aquaman universe that are not the Trench that I think you could directly tie into Aquaman and Mera. Yeah, and like those things are directly connected to the kingdom of Atlantis that I think would be way more interesting. I think there's even, I'm not usually crazy about prequels, but maybe there is potential opportunity to do a story about Atlanta or Aquaman's father.
Love her. Oh, Tom.
Great. Like, I think there's opportunities to explore that. Even a story of King Orm prior to the events of when Arthur shows up in Atlantis. Like, even Mera. There's so many other things that you could do before you're
Mera
like,
could have her own movie.
That Trench thing that we did in the movie? People
man.
love that. Let's make a whole 2-hour movie about that.
I feel like it would be like the first Ant-Man movie comes out, and then Marvel Studios is like, look, we know that we plan to do Ant-Man and the Wasp, but we got one better for you. Quantum Realm, the movie, is coming. You know how awesome the Quantum Realm was when Scott Lang went into the Quantum Realm? Everybody loved it. Everybody loved it. So here we go. Quantum Realm. It's not going to have Ant-Man or the Wasp in it, but it's the Quantum Realm. It's like, what is that? It was a cool Hey, you know that maybe we could have done Doctor Strange too. I got one better for you. Mirror Universe, the movie. Remember the sequence? It was super dope where they went into the Mirror Universe? Okay, so no Stephen Strange in this one, no Ancient One. Basically nobody that does magic, but trippy visuals for 2 hours.
I thought for Ant-Man you were going to say Antony and the Ants.
Yeah, Antony and the Ants. Before they meet, before
they meet Scott Lang. It's like,
I don't know. Our story picks up after Antony's wing falls and other ants gather and mourn their fallen friend, and then we just stay on the ants
for
2 hours. You know,
for $60 million.
The creatures that can't speak.
That's right.
They're the stars of our movie. It feels a little ill-conceived.
Yeah.
It feels movie executive and not comic book diehard fan.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of the frustrating thing. And again, you say it all the time, and you're right. When you are going to go out there and make statements about these movies that you're going to make for comic book fans or comic book movie fans, people who've watched these things from the cartoons to the movies
and who follow the news.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, you need to give us a little bit more than just like, we're gonna make a movie about the Trench.
Yeah.
What's our in? And I get it that we're very early in the process, and this movie, who knows when it'll come out? It could come out next year, could come out the year after that. I think I think you're a little bit of, because it has to come out before 2022 because Aquaman 2 has a date of December. I think it's December 15th or
so
2022.
it'll either be next year or the year after.
Exactly. And 2021 already has the Batman and Suicide Squad. So I'm like, if it's going to be a low budget horror movie, then you technically could do it next November.
Yeah.
You would have to just kind of start making it happen soon.
Shoot it this year and then it'll come out
so
next year.
That's part of the thing is like, great. If you are already potentially in some sort of planning / pre-production development stage, you should have an idea of what the story is.
I know, man.
You should be able to have like a log line or something of like, this is what it is. So when we talk about it, we can say, great, this is the concept. Are we sold on the concept? We'll have to wait and see.
They give us just one comic book character.
Yeah, but now it's sort of like we're just kind of picking at straws and hoping that it's one of the two things that
just
we're
say Tula.
spitballing.
Just say literally, just be
exactly.
like starring the character Tula.
Yeah.
Because it'll make people reading the Hollywood Reporter be like, I don't know what that is. But a bunch of comic book fans will
research.
be like, dope, that's perfect.
Exactly.
And she'll probably be an Aquaman 2. Great. What a great connected
And
thread.
I think that's a great bridge too. You can bridge a character from that movie into Aquaman too. I don't know. The other controversial hot take that the producer Peter Safran had was,
interesting.
I think that when you're making really strong standalone movies, there's really no need to bring them together.
Peter.
You want to give these characters room to breathe and live and tell their stories.
Peter.
Come here.
They're not mutually exclusive, and I think it's Peter. It's I don't know how
let's have a one-on-one. Quick. Come on.
You're not wrong.
Peter,
like
Peter,
if Peter's effectively
Sit down.
saying, when you're telling good movies, you're making good movies, and good movies are good movies, and it's like, yeah, 100%, I agree. But I feel like it's kind of crapping on what the DC universe is, man. It's kind of crapping on that. I don't want shoehorned in cameos. I don't want you to put the cart before the horse. I don't want you to make a movie that's DC Universe the movie. I want you to make a specific character-focused thing, like Aquaman looks like Shazam, Wonder Woman 84.
Yeah.
That's what I want. But to just say, in an effort to be different from Marvel and Disney, in an effort to be like, well, here's what we do. We make good movies on their own.
Yeah.
Like, I think you're doing a disservice to what the brand is. And if that's really how you feel, and if that's how Warner Brothers feels, it makes me feel like crap. It makes me feel like, what are you guys doing them then for?
Yeah.
Like, Warner Brothers knows Harry Potter 1 and Harry Potter 8 are connected.
Right.
That's why Harry Potter 8 is good, because you follow characters through a larger story, and it was this epic grand scale, and it was the movie event of a generation. And that's from the trailer.
That's right.
Or the cinematic event of a generation. Like, if you guys want to do that again, you have to treat it like it's a whole thing. It's not to disrespect Aquaman. Oh, he could never work without a Batman cameo. Or he could never, Wonder Woman could never work unless people know she'll show up in Justice League.
Yeah.
That's not what it's about. It's about looking at the history of DC and going, this is so good.
And
We've sat on it too long.
Yeah.
We cannot wait to bring you guys the rest of these characters. We believe that they're worth it.
Yeah.
And part of that is knowing that dynamic that, like, Aquaman bounces off of Wonder Woman very well in the comic books. Aquaman bounces off of Batman. Aquaman works with the Suicide Squad. I just read that comic, and it was dope.
Yeah.
Like, it was great. So
yeah, and I think that's the unfortunate part, and that's the thing that I find that, like, it's super frustrating because, and I'm sure, and it's, you also look at this quote and you have to remind yourself, this is a complete. If you're just looking at the quote out of context, you are potentially going to ignore the fact that as a studio, we've heard quotes come out of Warner Brothers saying, these are going to be independent films. They will still be in a connected universe,
right,
but they may not necessarily interact with each other all the time, which I'm fine with.
Yeah.
We don't need all these. We don't need every character to cross over in every single movie, especially when it's a movie that's a singular movie based on a one particular character. For example, Shazam. I don't necessarily need to see Batman in it. I don't need to see Superman in it. But the thing that I've seen from the movie that I love is, like, there are references to Batman.
Yes.
There are references to Superman. There are action figures of Cyborg.
What does it mean for Shazam?
Exactly.
What does it do to that character?
How does it influence that character and what he does as a superhero?
Yeah.
And I think, like, that to me is where these movies can really shine. Is you don't necessarily have to have the characters in one movie, but you see the influence.
Yeah.
And then you can build towards some sort of an event.
Yeah.
Start to slowly piece the movies together, introduce characters in other movies, and then you build towards the Justice League. And I mean, That's how Marvel has done it for the last 10 years. Every movie has led one thing to the next. Sometimes it hasn't worked. Like for me, there are movies that have done crossovers and it hasn't worked 100% of the time.
Yeah, it's fine.
But at least
They keep going.
They keep going. They keep taking chances. And I would like Warner Brothers to do the same thing.
If they're freaked out about Justice League, okay, fine. How about like 5 years from now, you guys plan to do Teen Titans?
Sure.
And that way you can have your new actor playing Batman who shows up in that, because it's about Robin joining the Teen Titans. It's about Robin being Nightwing and being on the Titans.
Yeah.
And that's still like a crossover film, but it's a new IP. You know, it's based off of the successful cartoon and the seems very popular Titans show that's on CW. Like, you know, like do that. And yeah, man, it just feels like it's just missed opportunities, and it feels like a bummer sometimes.
And we've kind of answered this question, but so like, do you think DC should build? Let's say they're going to do Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Shazam, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Do you think that they should really have teams dedicated? Okay, you're the Shazam team. Build out his universe. Shazam, the Marvel family, the villains.
No, I don't think so. I think
unite them.
I think that it depends on. I think that's a movie producer thing.
Yeah.
And not this is what works for
building.
Universe building.
Yeah.
Like, you know, look to the example of Marvel Studios and Disney. They didn't do a spin-off of a Loki movie. No, even though that character hit and was wildly successful and very popular.
They waited a long time before now we're going to do a show.
Right. And it's and why? Because that character had a specific role in their larger setting.
Yep.
And the same goes for, well, the Hulk is a legal thing, but that's like, you know, but they found
that's frustrating all
they,
itself.
They found a place to bring him in Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like they're not going to do they didn't do a Star-Lord movie, even though that movie was wildly successful, because it's like he's a part of this group.
It'd be a disservice to the rest of the Guardians in that universe.
Yeah, and I like that they kind of that they have people who, when they were talking to Joss Whedon for directing the first Avengers movie, he was like, I don't know if I'm going to do this, but no matter what happens, Ultron needs to be the villain for part 2. Like, Joss Whedon felt that.
Yeah.
He knew that sort of logical progression of what's next and what that thing can do. And I don't want to necessarily see a bunch of spin-offs of each of these things. I think that, like, again, Doctor Strange. They didn't go right into Doctor Strange 2. They didn't go with like, okay, we're going to give the Ancient One her own film or Mordo his own movie or whatever, because they knew, okay, we got the Doctor Strange movie almost out of the way.
Right.
And now he's going to be very important in Infinity War, and we're going to see him in Thor before that.
Yeah.
And it seems as though that character has been present since 2016 because he showed up in a movie that year, 2017, 2018. And now it's 2019, and he'll be in this one probably again. Yeah. Same thing with Iron Man. So, like, but all of that stuff to me feels like they're going to the comic books. They're going to the comic book history, the importance of these characters. And, you know, I don't think that they're not waiting to see how audiences necessarily react.
Yeah.
They are if certain things don't work.
Sure.
Because Thor changed tone. Because they were like, we got to swing for the fences on this third one. The first two didn't really, the second one especially was like, oh, and people didn't really love it. And so they swung for the fences. But I don't think they're waiting to see how Captain Marvel does to be like, okay, what should we do? What should we do next? Ben Mendelsohn's character gets his own movie. It's
Talos gets a spinoff.
And no matter how, or like, what are we going to do? No matter how much people like that character, it's about, okay, we know where Carol's going to be. Right. We know what we're going to use this character for, and they'll have a general idea of what to do later. What I think that they should do, is essentially what Marvel is kind of doing, where it seems as though they have one or a group of people mapping out the whole thing with large beats. Yeah. But then they bring in filmmakers and creators to collaborate and be like, flesh this out. What is this? Oh, that sounds great. We're going to go with that.
Pepper some stuff in there.
To work for those larger beats. And the difference is that Marvel's doing 3 movies a year. Don't do that. If you have 1 a year, maybe 1 every 2 years. If you have 2 a year, plus the Joker side thing that we don't know what it's going to be, still just make that work for your larger beats. Aquaman 2 isn't coming out until 2022. 4 years from when the first one came out. 4 years. use that to your advantage. I said before, just like plan it as like, okay, and then here, okay, these are the larger beats here. Aquaman's going to have a kid. The Justice League will still be around, or like a new version of that will be here. This is what Black Manta's up to. And as long as other stuff leading up to that or after that, like, doesn't mess with that, so I think that's what they should do. And I think it will strengthen the brand, and it will strengthen people's excitement for what comes next. And if those plans change along the way, fine. But it feels as though I feel like we've had this conversation since 2013. Like,
well, again, I think it's like it comes down to payoff, right? If you're a fan from the very beginning, it's how a lot of people feel now about going into Endgame. It's like, damn, I've been there since Iron Man 1.
Yeah.
I've been there since the beginning of the game. Now we're in the Endgame, and it's like I've been there for the whole thing. You feel like all the time you've invested is paid off. And I want to feel that about the DC characters too, because I love these characters and I love each of their individual universes. And I would love to in 8 to 10 years be like, damn, we stumbled a little bit in the beginning, but we found our stride and it just took off. And like now we're like knocking out of the park.
Now they've joined you in the sun.
That's right.
Kal-El. They will stumble. They will fall.
Oh, man.
But someday they will join you.
We'll see.
Yeah, dude. Man, I would love it if Amy Adams continued to play Lois Lane.
Right.
A new actor's playing Superman, sure, but then they have a kid, Jonathan Kent.
Yeah.
Straight up, like the next time we see Superman, he's got like a 7-year-old.
That'd be crazy.
Why not? Like, just keep it going.
I know.
You know?
I know.
Just copy Young Justice. Just
Staying
do
on
Young
the trend
Justice.
of DC, Batman is celebrating his 80th birthday.
That's great.
All these superheroes, it's crazy. All these superheroes are having like big anniversaries.
Yeah, I know, man. He doesn't look a day over 30.
No, he does not. He does not. He probably hasn't aged probably for 70 years.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different stuff that's going to be happening throughout the year. I'm going to kind of go through some of the things that are happening.
Okay.
Starting with South by Southwest, which just started. I think today was actually the first day.
Ooh.
By the way, they screened Us, the new Jordan Peele movie.
Yeah.
And people are losing their shit. So
it's
I
good?
cannot wait to
good?
go see it.
People are saying it's good?
People are saying it's incredible that Lupita Nyong'o steals the movie, and I cannot
she's
wait.
fantastic,
So
dude.
good. So good.
Man.
So they're going to be debuting some stuff
Scared.
at South by Southwest. I think it's going to be starting next weekend, though. They're going to have new merchandise and new art to commemorate Batman's 80th birthday, including a special March 15th event, which they will be releasing 1.5 million bats over the Congress Bridge in Austin, Texas.
You can't control bats
I
like
don't
that.
know if they're expecting all these fucking bats to make a bat signal in the sky. I don't think so.
Oh, boy.
So we're gonna see how Austin reacts to that one.
I think
That's
that's
gonna be
already
very interesting.
like a real thing. Like those bats are already there. Yeah, I think those bats are already there.
Yeah,
I think that
I don't
they're
know.
just like I think it's a real thing. I think I was
It's like a
hearing about
migrating
this.
thing?
That the bridge is even full of guano. Like it's
Really?
it's like a
Oh,
real thing in
wow.
Austin. So
Cool.
it's not something that like they're flying
They
in
just happen
bats.
to fall around the same time.
So they're just kind of using nature to be like, we're promoting
well, that's
Batman.
cool. That's cool.
I think.
DC will release 2 special anniversary comic books: the
Yeah.
hardcover Detective Comics,
I'm getting
80
that.
Years of Batman.
I'm getting that.
The
'Cause
deluxe edition.
Because you get the Superman one, right? Action Comics.
Yeah.
80 Years of Action.
Yeah.
It's a great book.
I want to get that Batman
It's a
one.
gorgeous
I gotta add
book.
that to
Yeah.
my collection.
Yeah.
Um,
And obviously Detective 1000.
Yes, and
for
Detective
sure.
1000 on March 27th. So 2 comics that like every comic book collector or anyone who's like a fan of these characters, like why would you not want to buy those? These are huge milestones
They'll
for
probably
these
be
characters.
great. Dude, Action 1000 was like a great book.
Yeah.
It was such a good comic book. I still remember like little pieces of those stories as like being super impactful. The one where Superman's just flying to catch his bullet.
Yeah.
So good,
Well, and that's
man.
the thing is like when these characters, like I love the Marvel characters, but Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, those are characters who have been around the longest in terms of superheroes. And those are always the ones that I'm kind of like, those are the ones that I gravitate towards.
Yeah.
I guess Spider-Man will also be one for Marvel.
Sure.
Because he is kind of up there in terms of recognition and
But
all
he's
that sort
different,
of stuff.
man. He's not as mythic because these other
Yeah.
characters are from the late 30s and early 40s. They
yeah.
are mythic.
They're huge. So that's super, super exciting. Other stuff they're going to be doing. So Wondercon, they're going to be doing a Happy Birthday Batman panel. They haven't really specified exactly what it's going to be about. Then the theme parks at Six Flags are going to be doing a whole bunch of stuff to commemorate the anniversary of Batman.
Cool.
There's going to be some stuff happening at the Mondo Gallery in Austin. The DC Museum has now kind of switched over to an Aquaman exhibit, but I think
Yes.
they still have Batman
went there.
stuff, don't they, or no?
Not right now.
Not
They
right
have
now, okay.
the bottom floor, which I think the top floor is Harry Potter,
It
but
is,
at
yeah.
Warner Brothers Studios, the bottom floor is Aquaman, basically every costume,
Gotcha.
which is gorgeous,
Yeah.
and then Wonder Woman.
Ah, okay.
So like
cool.
every costume from the movie Wonder
And
Woman.
they've had
it's
Batman
great.
stuff there for years now.
Yeah.
it's been there.
Then
Then there's going to be Batman-centric programming on television, Cartoon Network, a bunch of different channels, all kinds of stuff. obviously, though, there will very likely be something huge at San Diego Comic-Con this year.
Mhm.
And if this Batman movie is coming out in 2021, it's a good opportunity to have Matt Reeves there to maybe announce who the new Batman will be.
True.
I think that'll be a really cool celebration of the character. And there's a few other things, but they were saying, so DC basically was saying, like, look, stay tuned to our social media, especially March 30th. That's the official 80th anniversary date. And then September 21st is this year's annual Batman Day. So there's going to be a whole bunch of stuff going on all year long. So if you're a Batman fan, which most of us are, it's going to be a fun time to celebrate. So I'm looking forward to a lot of this stuff. I'm particularly excited to see what they're going to do at Comic-Con this year.
Yeah.
Because I think DC is really finding its footing in terms of their movies. So I'm hoping that we'll obviously get stuff with Wonder Woman 84.
Yeah.
We'll probably get stuff with Birds of Prey.
Yeah.
But I would love to see something major for Batman.
Agreed.
I think casting,
that'd be great.
Casting or announcing the actors would be a big thing.
That would be great. That would be great. I would love for somebody to explain the trench to me at Comic-Con. That would be great.
And now Peter Safran to
Basically,
explain the
Peter
trench.
Safran's like, okay, everybody, listen, it's going to be Tula. And I'll be like, yeah, it's Tula. Like, that's, yeah. Come on, Peter. Come on. Come on, Pete.
I know. We'll
Come
see.
on. I'll meet you at Comic-Con.
Again, it's a full year Batman celebration. So,
Cool.
And the one thing that I did like that I don't know if they're going to do this year for the 75th anniversary, they did for Batman and Superman. They did those original animated shorts.
So good. I just rewatched the Batman one the other day.
They were so good.
The Superman one gives me chills.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. The Batman one is fun because it's Kevin Conroy, Will
Yeah.
Friedle being Batman Beyond. And they fight
awesome.
Robot Batman, and at the end, like all the other Batman are there, and I'm like, that's great. Even like Adam West, Robot with evil red eyes. That's a great little moment.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I loved it. So now we're gonna jump over to Brightburn.
Cool.
This movie looks crazy. So this is a movie that's
Yeah.
written by James Gunn's brother and cousin.
Mm-hmm.
James Gunn is the producer. He's not the director of this movie. This is a Sony Pictures release, which, like, you say Sony, and immediately I'm kind of like, all right. But then you see the trailers. This looks like a mind-blowing superhero flipped upside down movie. If you don't know the concept, the basic premise is it's not based on a graphic novel, but it's basically taking the concept of Superman and sort of flipping it on its head and saying, what if Superman came to Earth, but he came from a race of people who maybe wasn't as I don't know.
So it's Dragon Ball Z, basically.
I guess.
Dragon Ball Z, Goku,
Yeah.
the Saiyans were like a conquering people, kind of, and he was sent here to sort of like the Iron Giant, like the one sentry to sort of take over the whole
Yeah,
thing.
like what if Superman came from a world of Kryptonians who were like conquerors of worlds?
It's so
and were
crazy
evil?
how unique this concept is, but also at the same time being
Kind of a
so
duh.
familiar.
Yeah.
It's so familiar. I was watching the trailer and I'm like, I feel like I've read this in comic books. This feels like a natural extension to like a lot of the ideas, even in Man of Steel.
Yes.
Like,
I mean, it's
I'm not,
purposely set up to look like a Man of
exactly,
Steel
and I'm
trailer.
not trying to knock that movie, but it like I wonder if the point of this film, the message will be like, what will ultimately win out? Will it have an optimistic message, or will it have a pessimistic message on humanity, on us, on kids, on morals, values, whatever? Like, what's the movie trying to say about Superman and ideas like Superman?
Yeah.
So fascinated.
Well,
But
especially
yeah,
it's like this movie's going to embrace horror.
yes.
So I think
Full
like
on.
it's going to full on like exploit the horror genre, exploit everything that it means, be a deconstruction. So this is not going to be a movie that's going to be technically for all ages.
Oh no.
You know, so I think
Yeah.
to make a movie like this and target it specifically for adults, you know, what is it trying to say? But what is it also trying to communicate to us as adults who have grown up reading these characters? What is it going to sort of maybe try to challenge about the things that we understand or think we know about these characters? And the other thing
That's
too
exciting.
is, you know, we now are sort of living in a world very politically very heated. Do you think that this is a good time to make a movie like this that questions what it means to be a superhero?
Because you know what it made me think of is the line from the actor who played Roy in The Office. I'm forgetting his name, but he was the Power Rangers dad in Power Rangers, Red Ranger's dad. It's a great actor.
Yeah, I
He's
forget his
fantastic.
name. Yeah.
Look him up real quick. Look him up because I want to credit him, and also Elizabeth Banks, also Rita. That's funny. That's two
That's
Power
right.
Rangers actors. Power Rangers was pretty good, you guys. I liked it. It was not that bad, but that actor is not even listed. Oh, great! Yeah, come on. Go to.
I don't know where the arrow.
Go to. Where is it? Pull it up. Where the heck did it go? Anyway, here's the thing. When that actor said the line, "He's not our son,"
Yeah.
that to me made me feel like this movie might be the what if, and it's not what if Kal-El was evil, what if Superman was evil, but it's like, but what if Martha and Jonathan Kent were not there all the way? Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
What if they were not who they are? What kind of a Superman would be raised? What kind of character would we get?
Yeah.
And maybe I'm wrong, and I need to watch the movie because it obviously I don't know what these characters go through to get to a point where this dad says that, because they find him as a baby.
Yeah.
And he's what, 10?
He crash lands on Earth just like Superman.
So he's 10 in this movie. Like, so they're with him for years.
Yeah.
It's not like he's 10 and then they adopt him and then they try to say he's our son. Like it's Superman.
They
it's
raise
the baby
him.
thing. They raise him. So this makes me feel like maybe I'm in the wrong, but it's a movie that is specifically geared to make it look like, hey, are you a fan of like cool dark takes on superhero stuff? You're gonna want to check this out. This is edgy. This is violent. This is gonna be a horror movie. This is radar. Tricks everybody. They go to see it, and then by the end of the movie, you're like, fuck, man. Jonathan Kent's the real hero of the Superman mythos. Jonathan and Martha are amazing characters that when they are not in this movie, this is what happened. Like it might.
You appreciate those characters a lot more.
I'm maybe thinking optimistically, but maybe you walk out of that movie going like this is what Superman is and should be, and this is where he is right now, unfortunately, or whatever it's trying to say. Maybe it's going to trick a sort of an edgy comic book audience into going to see this and then be like, what you think about Superman? It's wrong. Maybe, or it's just like a fun, crazy, which looks fine and amazing and cool anyway. Like I'm already in. So
So like the other thing too is, could this movie potentially spark a trend where filmmakers create movies like this that take the concepts of characters like Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, deconstruct them completely, and they do in a way that doesn't tarnish what those characters are because they're technically not using those characters.
Right. I hope so, but also I don't know because this is such a specific movie.
Right.
I don't think that it's like a one-trick pony in the sense of like everybody will accept, okay, that's Superman, but not. Like it's different enough, but effectively the same because that legend, that origin is so specific, but also so like classic and well told.
Yeah.
If you did something like this with like, okay, this kid gets spiders through an insect. Already you're like, stop. They did it in Brightburn. Like you're just doing Spider-Man. Okay, how about this? Rich kid, stop. Like you can't.
It's Batman. Come on.
Batman.
You know what you're doing.
Okay, so you know how there's gods, right? So then there's this island, and it's like, stop. I
just
don't
copy and pasting at this point.
I hope that it's not a trend in that way, but what I think is exciting is like embracing that myth. And we've seen it before. I think Watchmen is a movie that was ahead of its time. And Watchmen has a lot of deconstruction attempting sort of happening, but I think that it didn't have enough to say about superhero movies. Not enough superhero movies came out, and now 10 years later, there's a bunch.
Plethora.
So I'm all for more movies like that actually deconstructing some of that. You know what would be dope? Ninja Turtles was originally a spoof comic.
Right.
We've had 3 seasons of a Daredevil Netflix show. What if the next Ninja Turtles, on top of being Ninja Turtles, actually tries to spoof some of that? Like legit tries to spoof some of the very melodramatic, slow burn of a Netflix show, and those so I'm for that. Mystery Men was ahead of its time. Let's bring that shit back. Let's do comedy. Let's do but good, but not bad, but good. Let's do horror. Let's do let's explore different stuff and genres where Marvel Studios says each one of their movies has a subgenre. Not really. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they don't. Like Captain Marvel is a straight superhero movie. There's really no other like space thing. It's like, well, Guardians
fantasy
is that.
Movie, right.
Ant-Man's a heist. Not really. Like it's got a superhero. It's it's in there. Like Black Panther, Afrofuturism. Yes, for sure. But it still has a lot of those beats. So I'm for that stuff, but I don't necessarily know if it's going to be like horror breaking down specific tropes.
Sure.
I think audiences will only allow it for Superman.
Yeah, and I mean I'm very intrigued by the movie, and who knows what it could spawn. But yeah, I agree. I think if you start falling into this trend of great, let's use this to deconstruct, let's make this the anti-everything superhero movie. It's like we're gonna do one for Iron Man and Cap and Wonder Woman and Green Lantern and blah 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 blah. Then it's like great. Now we're just milking this new thing,
and it'll just turn into like Earth 3 with the crime syndicate, where it's like evil Green Lantern, evil Flash, evil, I'm
like, I don't want to see this built to some universe.
I would rather I agree with this notion of like, I would rather see that attempt at storytelling in this kind of stuff versus like, okay, the next Superman movie, we're going to deconstruct. It's like, stop. Just do Superman.
Just do Superman.
Just do it.
Don't overcomplicate it.
That's it. Wonder Woman, simple, beautiful.
Yeah,
it's not trying to be like, here's what Wonder Woman is, and we're going to subvert it. Like,
like
Spider-Verse got away with it. Because Spider-Verse had a specific
Yeah.
message, which was anyone can wear the mask. And to
Exactly.
be able to tell that and an animation all work together.
Plus, I think Spider-Man is a character that's had so many movies. It's earned
that was
it.
part of it. That was part of the
that's a whole
origin.
part-
You know,
yep.
Peter B. Parker was basically the Tobey Maguire version.
Exactly.
So don't do that with everything. Like,
exactly.
just do Martian Manhunter. Don't subvert it. Like, I just want to see those.
Yeah, and I think we're kind of at the point now where it's like, with certain characters, I know we've gotten multiple iterations, all that sort of stuff. But if you are doing a character that is part of a greater universe, you need to build the building block of what makes that character. And then maybe years from then, once he's had his own trilogy where we could really establish, like, this is Superman's role in the connected DC universe, then I think there's a lot of room to play around with, like, what else can we do with this character? But yeah, I don't think we're kind of at the point right now where we can flip these characters upside down when we don't even know who they are in the first place. We need to build up to it.
Yeah.
Last thing we're going to touch on really quick, the Shazam movie has been having some screenings, and man, it is getting some really good praise.
I'm excited.
The consensus out of all the things that I kind of just like went through really quickly, consensus on Shazam is another win for DC, a movie filled with humor, action, and heart. With a strong family story at its core, it is in fact big meets Superman with plenty of references to the greater DC universe, which we talked about is great, while never losing track of its own story. It's sweet, endearing, and a great entry in the DC film universe. So that's just what I wrote based on what I saw from everybody tweeting about. So I continue to be super excited about this movie. It looks amazing. The enthusiasm from the cast and David Sandberg. I love when David Sandberg trolls people on Twitter. It's my favorite thing. I love all the little things that he does.
What was the thing? It's like, why is Batman's belt yellow? Please tell me this is Ben Affleck's Batman. And what was his answer for it? He said, like,
I forget exactly what he
said.
said.
The Flash did it or something. Like,
something
he had
like that. He always has like some quippy thing, or he's done even like his own visual effects takes on like when Billy Batson turns into Shazam. Shazam's just dead, and he just like turns into nothing. It's great. I love it.
Shazam dead.
Yeah. So I'm very, very happy and excited that this seems to be another hit for DC. I think they are very much finding sort of their footing, and they're figuring out what they're doing. And like, look, if it takes a few solo movies for them to kind of figure out exactly how to treat this universe and all these characters,
right? Great.
At some point, I would really like to see Shazam and Superman in a movie.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't have to be the next one, but get us there eventually. In the meantime, yeah, like I'm just so happy that we had Justice League in between. I would say it's a hat trick. It's not technically, but to have 3 solo movies, you know, one after the other to be potentially huge hits, I'm very, very happy to hear.
Same.
So,
yeah, man, I was thinking about this
today. Do you know when
today.
you're going to see it?
Probably, hopefully early next week. But I think at the latest I am scheduled to go see it next Friday evening, which is pretty early, and I'm excited about it.
Damn you!
So I'm gonna be out of town next week. I'm gonna be in Vegas. No, I'm just kidding. I will not be in Las Vegas. I will be in New York City because I'm gonna be seeing this. And then
you're seeing in New York potentially.
Yeah. So
cool.
Because it's an event. I don't know if I can say anything. Whatever. We'll see what happens. I hopefully get to go do it and go see Shazam. I've been reading Shazam comics. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this. I know a lot of people have been reflecting on this. It is such a great time right now. It's really great if you love these kinds of movies and stories. Captain Marvel had a movie, man, and it came out. And it's Carol Danvers. Shazam got a movie,
it's
dude.
It's the year of Captain
Marvel. It's
Marvels.
Billy Batson. It really is. Like for being fans of both of those characters and both of those like lineages, it's very cool.
Totally.
That they're both happening.
Yeah.
Like we're getting
a month
them.
apart.
Yeah, like we're getting them, and it's
no, we're being super spoiled.
Yeah, it's a thing that years ago, you know, fans of Shazam especially were like, it's just big with powers.
Yeah.
Do the movie.
Don't mess it
you know,
up.
but just do it. And now it's happening, and it looks great.
Like originally when we got that roster in 2014 and Shazam was on that list of movies, I got super excited. I thought, this is great. I've loved seeing this character in all the animated series and all the animated films and reading some of the comics. And I thought like a lot of the New 52 stuff was really cool, but also them using New 52 plus little things here and there from the pre New 52. It's
I like that.
Great. David Sandberg seems like he really understood the essence of this character and thought like, I can incorporate things from both sides and just make a really fun movie. Then you have Zachary Levi headlining the whole thing. You're like,
I know.
dude, I met him once,
Yeah.
and after talking with him for 5 seconds, I was like, this guy's perfect for Shazam. He's so good.
Yay. Okay.
So I'm
Great.
super excited.
Cool.
Guys, in the meantime, please go into the comments. Let us know about all the topics that we talked about. We deep dive. We did
Yeah.
deep dive on all this stuff. There's a lot of really good stuff happening. Let us know what you think about the Suicide Squad casting. Idris Elba. Who are some other actors or characters you would like to see in that movie? Who maybe should replace Joel Kinnaman as Rick Flagg? Or do you just leave the character out? Let us know your thoughts on the trench. Every single thing that we covered down in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed yet, why? Join the brand new 100,000. Help us get to 200,000 ASAP because we're just going to keep making content every single week. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're listening on the podcast, thank you so much for listening. And we'll catch you guys in the next episode with all 3 of us here.